Hi everyone and welcome to part 2 of my video on River Phoenix. We'll find out how he went from being one of the hottest young actors in Hollywood to dead in front of a public nightclub on the streets on Halloween night. Well, what happened, of course, was that he was a drug addict and he never did kick this habit. He simply wasn't able to kick it. His last movie he made with Sandra Bullock, and it was called The Thing Called Love. And it also co-starred a young actress, and her name was Samantha Mathis. And he gave a touching performance as an aspiring idealistic musician, which he is actually in real life. And he finds love in a Nashville honky-tonk. He treated Mathis with boyish charm, claiming that his heart beat wildly whenever he held her hand. But River's looks began to fade around this time. He began to look frail, very, very thin. He had developed a sallowness to his skin, and his once charming golden crown of flaxen blonde hair was becoming thin and dull. And unfortunately, River just looked like a junkie. And that's because that's what he was at this time. He was just a junkie. In between films and sometimes while he was making films, he was just a junkie. And that's really sad because he had so much potential. And he was so young. He had so much ahead of him. I mean, to know what he could have been, all we have to do is look at his brother. Joaquin Phoenix is amazing. His acting is, he's great. He was great in almost everything I've ever seen him in. The Joker, Gladiator, tons of other movies, the Johnny Cash story. He's amazing in everything he does. Didn't have the looks that River Phoenix had. Didn't have that, in my opinion, doesn't really have the charisma that his brother had. But he's a phenomenal actor. And I think River could have been every bit as good as Joaquin. Plus, he had all of the charisma to go with it. So it's sad what happened to River. So let's find out, actually, what happened to River. River Phoenix was what was known as a weekend drug addict, in that he would often quit for weeks at a time and then go back to drugs when something in his life wasn't going exactly right. And that's what happened to him before he died. When he went to Utah to film his final film, Dark Blood, he spent 2 months clean up there in Utah. And it seemed like maybe he'd actually get clean for good. Unfortunately, when he came back to film the rest of the movie at the studio, he came back to LA, and that's where all the drugs were again. And this was not a pleasant experience for River, this movie. Him and his co-star, Judy Davis, I think was her name, did not get along. And they were supposed to film a tender love scene, and River was really, really not wanting to do this love scene because he was intimidated by her hostility towards him. For some reason, she didn't like him at all, and she was intimidated by this hostility, and he kept asking the director to put this love scene off. Well, I'm going to read you in my book the very final moments of River on camera. The very last images of River Phoenix on film are chilling. According to the show, The Last Days of River Phoenix, the love scene took 4 hours to complete, and then it was done. The director called cut, the lights were extinguished, and River just stood there, silhouetted against the still burning candles as the camera continued to roll. I'm thinking the cameraman did this on purpose. He turned and walked towards the camera, staring silently into the lens for nearly 5 minutes as the candles burned eerily behind him, as his dark visage Finally, someone realized that the camera was still running and switched it off. After River's death, his penetrating image would haunt the cast and crew for years. It's almost as if he knew what was coming that night, right? And maybe he did. He was a sensitive soul, you know? So that night, it happened to be the eve of Halloween, October 30th, and he had planned to go to the Viper Room and play on stage with his friends. He was good friends with the owner of the Viper Room, the actor Johnny Depp, who also wanted to be a musician, it seems. And of course, he had met Flea when he was filming My Own Private Idaho, and they had become fast friends because Flea was a musician, a rock star who was mildly interested in becoming a movie star. And River was a movie star who was really interested in becoming a rock star, so they became fast friends. So he had been told he would be allowed to go on stage that night at the Viper Room and play with Depp and Flea and other musicians, and he was really looking forward to this. So he and his girlfriend Samantha and his sister Rain and his brother Joaquin all gathered at the Hotel Nico in his hotel suite beforehand, and they were partying there, and supposedly River didn't take anything because he wanted to be 100% on his game when he went to the Viper Room that night. By 12 o'clock, everyone was at the Viper Room. And everyone, the little group of tight friends and family were seated at the booth at the back of the club. So River took his guitar and went up to where the stage was. And he said, "I'm ready, let's go." And Depp and other people told him, "Well, you can't come up here because there's too many musicians up there right now and it's just not going to work. Sorry." And this did a number on River. He felt betrayed, he felt humiliated, and he felt hurt. And what does River do when he suffers a crushing setback? Rather than just slough it off, "Oh, I get it. There's just too many people here. Maybe another night. I'll just go back and have fun with my friends." Rather than doing that, he takes it very, very personally. And he starts casing the club for a drug dealer. And that didn't take him long to find one. And he went into the bathroom with this drug dealer. All of his friends and his sister and brother, they're thinking, "Oh, he's getting ready to take the stage." So they weren't even worried about him. Instead, he's in this bathroom and he's snorting a speedball, a huge speedball. And this is the very thing, it's a combination of cocaine and heroin, I think. It's the very thing that killed John Belushi, and I think it's the same thing that would kill Chris Farley 3 years later. Killed John Belushi in '83, and I think it killed Chris Farley as well, and now I know that it killed River Phoenix. So I'm going to read this part in my book. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Joaquin, Rain, and Samantha were enjoying the evening in a booth towards the back of the room. They all assumed River was about to take the stage. He had actually gone into the bathroom with a drug dealer and snorted a massive speedball, a combination of heroin and cocaine, the same concoction that killed John Belushi 10 years earlier. Right away, he became violently ill and began puking his guts up. He screamed at the dealer, "What the fuck did you just give me?" between pukes. He began shaking, his heartbeat racing, breaking out in a cold sweat, as if he hadn't had enough drugs. Some rocket scientist thought this was an inopportune moment to give him a Valium. By that time, he stumbled out of the bathroom and back to the booth. He had less than 1 hour to live. He complained that it was hard to breathe, then passed out at the feet of his friends. When he regained consciousness, he asked Samantha and Joaquin to help him outside for some air. While being helped out, one of the bouncers asked what was happening, and River reportedly replied, "I'm dying, man." So he knew it was up. I mean, he must have felt horrendous. Anyway, they got him outside, and he immediately had a seizure, fell to the concrete ground, and as he was seizing, he was banging his head on the concrete. And Samantha was there, and she was hysterically screaming and trying to hold his head so that he wouldn't hit it on the concrete. And Rain came out and threw her body over him to try to get the seizure to stop. But it was futile. Meantime, there's a photographer there. And I don't know where those pictures were. I guess he burned it because there was a photographer there. And there were people standing around, that had been waiting to get into the club or were leaving the club or whatever. Some of them had costumes on. They were all just gawking at him. Some of them were snickering. Some of them were like, yeah, I've been there. Well, this guy's literally dying on the sidewalk. Joaquin, a panic-stricken Joaquin, runs down the street to the nearest payphone because we didn't have cell phones back then. He goes to the nearest payphone, and there's an entire 911 call of him just sobbing and begging somebody to come and help his brother who's dying, right in front of the Viper Room on Halloween night. It was so sad and so tragic. He never even made it to the hospital. They loaded him into the ambulance, and he died on the way to the hospital. He was 23 years old. It was really, really sad. R.I.P. to River Phoenix, because like I said, if you don't know what you missed, all you have to look at is his peers. Like Leonardo DiCaprio was around his age. Look at what great things Leo's done. Look at what Keanu Reeves has done. He's amazing. River could have been right up there. He could have given so much to film-going audiences. He was also a great humanitarian. He loved animals, and because he'd seen such cruelty to animals in Venezuela, he was a big animal rights activist. He could have loaned his celebrity status to help other people, which is what he totally would have done. I know he would have. And it's just really sad that it was cut short that night in 1993 in front of the Viper Room, which is going to be torn down, by the way. That's what I heard. They're going to tear the Viper Room down. Johnny Depp hasn't owned a stake in it in a really long time. So his mother, there was a picture taken of River in his casket. I have that picture. I posted it on my Patreon. If you want to take a look, there's a link to my Patreon page on this channel if you want to see it. I'm not going to post it here. Some people find it very disturbing. He has his band's t-shirt on, which I thought was really poignant. R.I.P. to River Phoenix. That will do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe and really watch the videos, because I've given myself a year to get monetized, and that year is going to be up in January. Do all the things, like, subscribe, check out my books on Amazon. There's a link in the description for the channel also for my books. There's also a link to my Facebook page, which I go into great detail about these people. And I do a lot of talking about River Phoenix. I did a whole 30-picture tribute to River Phoenix over there. He's in my book, Tragic Hollywood, Beautiful, Glamorous, and Dead, if you want to read more about River Phoenix and a lot of other really interesting people. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.